Dzięki. Hello. Welcome to session Automate and Code. Before we begin, I would really like to ask you to concentrate on the next slide and follow the steps that I will be reading, and then honestly answer the question that I will ask at the end of it. Can you do it? All right. 10 fun facts. You can't wash your eyes with soap. You can't count your hair. You can't breathe through your nose with your tongues out. You just try number 3. When you did number 3, you realize you look like a dog, and it's actually possible. You are smiling right now because you were fooled. You skipped number 5. You're just checking that number 5 didn't exist. You were fooled second time. Is that true? Any one of you, or is there anyone who didn't were fooled by any of those steps? Okay, maybe a few people. That's fine. But still, you are in the least percent of the whole people in this room. Sorry for that. Okay. So as you can see, the easy following the steps already made us to make few mistakes. The one was we were doing everything that we were told to do. We didn't think about it. We didn't concentrate of what we are doing. We just execute the step, and then our brain has worked for us. And when we were looking at the list, we forgot that number 5 is not present, and the brain was filling out the gaps. And if we're doing manual work, we will have lots of issues with the human error and issues that the IKEA instructions usually the people that building the IKEA furniture usually have. Have you ever tried to build the IKEA furniture? Sure. Do you succeed? Always. Without the errors? No, yeah, okay. So that's how it works. And why is that? Because when we concentrate, with IKEA, we need to really concentrate on the steps that they are describing. They're saying in the step 1, put the wooden box on the floor in the specific position. And we, of course, maybe will not see the dot, the hole that should be on the top right corner. We're doing that on top left corner instead of the right. So we're finding those small issues, and in the 60% of the time, it works every time. Now, okay, those were silly, simple examples of how the manual work can work, but can cause issues in our daily life. But have you heard about Knight's Capital? Anyone? Okay, there's one person. That's good. They were bankrupt in 45 minutes. That's why probably you're not hearing about them any longer. What they did, they had a software installed on 8 servers, and they decided that it's time to update the software to the new version. So they asked developers to write the new software. They did it, and the developers decided to reuse the flag that was already present in the system that was causing the old system to be disabled. So you can already start to imagine what could happen and what could go wrong. What the IT guy did, he deployed the application to 7 servers instead of 8, and they turned on the flag to true, which was as well reused in the new system to turn on the new system. What it actually did, it turned on and turned the new system on 7 servers, and on the 8th server, the old system stood up. When the new working day started, they started losing money, a small amount of money. They didn't know why they are losing the money, so they decided that maybe the new software they installed was buggy, and they decided to retract all the installation of on the 7 servers, then retract the installation of the new software. And what they did just uninstalled the software, forgetting about the flag that was set to true to enable the new software to run, and they start losing $170,000 per second for 45 minutes. That's $460 million. Boy, that escalated quickly. They basically did the manual work manual, that means that someone needs to execute the easy steps like we have with the 10 fun facts, as well as with the IKEA instructions. But those are the big examples of failures that can happen in, maybe not in every company, but in the everyday daily basis work that we are doing in the company. We are facing issues like hiring a new person that is given the new laptop to start working during the first day. And usually what we are giving this new person is giving the laptop without the software, asking the specific person to install everything, giving him instruction, what he needs to go, where he needs to go, what he needs to install, what sort of software, when he needs to ask for approval or for rights to install the specific software. And what this guy is doing, he's spending just 1 or 2 days installing the software for himself just to be able to start working. Then we're saying, look, now you need to prepare your development environment for the specific project. And what we are doing in this case, saying you need to have the permission to access the wiki page. You need to have a permission to access the source control. You need to install a specific version of libraries just to be able to compile the code that you will be working on. And basically what we are doing, we're wasting our time, we're wasting time of our employee, and what the employee is basically doing, he's just spending the money. He's just throwing the money. It's not nowhere. Just have you ever been in the situation that you were sitting in the work, installing the software and doing nothing, just installing and configuring your environment? Almost every one of you. So you can imagine what, I don't know, this guy who you work for, or maybe it's you are the contractor, he needs to have a bucket full of money to allow you to do it. That's my, honestly, opinion about that. And I was thinking about why this is happening, and why even after 20 years of progression, 30 years of computer science, we still have the same situation, and it's happening over and over and again. And the only thing that I come up with is the theory of broken window. Does any one of you knows this theory? Okay, there are some of you. Basically, the theory is saying if in the neighborhood a window will be broken and will not be fixed in the reasonable period of time, then the next window will be broken, and the next, and the next, and the next. And by breaking the windows, the whole neighborhood will change as well. It will attract more criminal people. It will be start to be dangerous to live with your family, and you will basically would like to move out from this neighborhood. And when this is happening, then basically it's really hard to change. And you can see that in the IT example is like you are doing the manual deployment. You're just copying the files from one server to another server. And you can see that if you're doing that for one project, in the next project you will be doing the same thing, because you already know how to copy the files. You will not be thinking about how it can be changed. So the theory of the broken window. And as I was saying, that change is hard, especially that when we have the whole process already working up in our company. So we're deploying the new application. We know that we need to copy the files. We know that the copying files takes 5 minutes. We know that we need to set up the specific permission on the server as well. So we already know and have the workflow what to do. And now try to tell your manager that, look, I can spend 2 extra hours automating that work, and we'll benefit that after, I don't know, 10 or 15 deployments, my time will be, my investment will be returned. And the manager would say, no, I don't see a point, because we already have the workflow in place and we already know what to do. Why do you want to change it? And that's normal, and especially in the big companies, that's fine. It will be really hard. There's no point of trying to move the elephant and changing his own route changing his route to the different one. Instead, what we can do, we can start planning automation at the beginning of the project. Instead of trying to change the things that are already there, try automate things that we will be taking onto the board. And when you will start automating and planning the automation at the beginning, you will see how your whole infrastructure and the code and everything's changed just to allow you to do the automation. I don't know, I think the best analogy is, have you heard about the TDD, test-driven development? There are a few people, yeah, that's cool. The test-driven development, it's about writing tests before we write the code. And when we write the test before we write the code, we're planning how the code will look like, so it will be testable. If we have the code that we can test, that's fun. That's fine, that's okay. I'm not saying that TDD will cause that there will be no bugs and stuff like that. No, I'm just saying that the code will have the code that we can test. And if we will start planning and doing the automation at the beginning of the project, we'll have the infrastructure and automation that will allow us to automate every step of the development and every step of the next things that can happen. And we can do the idiot-proof scenarios that basically can happen and will happen as the Knights Capital shown us. So what we can do and what we must do, we must take action, and we just need to decide that we can do it. It will not be easy, but we can, by deciding and start planning, we can do it. And what we can do is we can automate almost everything. We just need to figure out what we want to automate, and we need to figure out what we would like to be able to automate. As for the automation, we can do the automation of the operating system installation from the network drive, for instance. And when I used to work in one of the companies, I had the situation that I was, in the morning, I was booting my system, and I received the information, there's a new system ready for you, do you want to install it? And if I click yes, the image was downloaded and installed before I started my workday. With the new updated, it was Windows Vista, so it wasn't a good choice, but still, you can do it and you can automate that. I will not be concentrating, and I don't think that there's a point of concentrating on that, especially that we are developers, and we usually are developers, and we are not interested in how we can automate our operating system installation. What is most important to us is software and configuration that we can automate in our daily basis work. For instance, if my Macintosh right now will die, I can revert it back in 2 hours without touching keyboard, almost. So what it means that I have a script that will allow me to install everything that I have on the Mac again, and in the repeatable, testable way. So I've planned a few months ago what I would like to have on my Mac, and I'm still updating that list. And this is a simple script that I can update whenever I like. And having that, it's causing that, for instance, if I'm starting the job at the new company, I can just have the script and install all the base software without touching the keyboard. I'm just coming, and I can maybe configure some of the things, like, I don't know, I don't want to have pictures of the cats on my desktop. I want to have pictures of the dogs. But we have lots of solutions like Boxen, Homebrew, Box Starter, and all of them are based on the script. So for instance, on the Windows, we can write a simple code that when we install the operating system, we have Microsoft Windows running, then we can execute the Box Starter script that is usually chocolatey, and it basically can configure everything what we want on the computer. It can move your library directories from default location C drive to the D drive. It can install your the Windows features. It can install extra software, and it can configure the extra software. So in 5 to 10 minutes, well, depending on the internet connection and stuff, you can have most of the software installed and configure in the way that you like to have it. And this can be as well reused in the company as the new employee is hired. What we can do next is, when we're starting the new project, we can have a script that will allow us to install everything that is required for the project to run. So if we have a Git repository somewhere, we can just clone the repository, get into the folder, install what is needed from that repository, so npm packages, bower, and then build the application so we can run and execute it without the thinking of what we need to do and how we need to install it. And an example, 3 weeks ago, I was setting up my computer for one of the projects. It took me 6 hours to do it because I was asked to install the specific version of the libraries, to set up the specific databases, to execute specific database scripts, to do the migration and stuff like that. We could automate those things. And if those things would be automated, it would take only 1 hour of my time. I could use the 5 more hours to develop the feature that basically I've closed in 6-7 hours of my work extra. So instead of spending twice as much of time of developing, of configuring and developing, I could just finish the code that I'm supposed to finish. And we can go further, reusing that and Vagrant or whatever, all the technologies that we can use for virtualization. So if you've got a team working and we are working on the project that requires the same configuration of computer, we can use that in the Vagrant script to execute this, and we have a virtual machine that is configured for specific projects. Automation. Of course, we can, but that depends if we need to do it and depends on the environment that we are working with. The next thing that we can do, and it's which I'm in love with, it's continuous development, and the term was coined by Nicholas in JavaScript application design, a build-first approach. That's the first time I've heard about it, and since then I'm using it all the time whenever I can. The continuous development means that whenever I'm developing the software, the only thing I need to concentrate is writing the code. I don't need to think about running unit tests. I don't need to think about refreshing my web browser. I don't need to think about building my solution to executing or reusing the style scope or lint or whatever service to use the preprocessors or whatever. I don't need to think about that. If I'm executing my dev environment, it means I'm writing code and the whole script and everything else is working to help me write and be more productive during the days. And I basically have always two different setups. One for development, which is completely ugly. If I'm mostly working on the web projects, so when I'm working on the web projects, I love to have possibility to fix the bug in the browser. So I'm not thinking about finding the bug in the browser and then finding the file locally on the disk. So for instance, in the Chrome, we can use a workspace to map the JavaScript file to your local file. And that makes an extra plus for the automation, because whenever you just fixing the bug in the Chrome, you're clicking save, it's building your test and doing the unit tests in your command line, and it's doing the pre-processing, building and stuff, and refreshing then the web page for you. So you're just doing nothing, just writing the code and clicking save. And that's my dev environment. And the distribution is basically the same thing, but the idea for distribution is to be used in the different process that we can automate, which is testing and deploying. And we can automate those things by connecting them to our repository. And there are many tools that we can do that can use that approach, like TeamCity, Jenkins, Travis. They basically hook to the repository and they're looking at the change in the repository. And then, depending on the setup, they can execute some of the tasks locally, or they can even take the code and execute the distribution build from my continuous development environment. Moreover, I can have in distribution, I can use the Docker to build the image, and one of those steps can be just put the image or start the container wherever I want. So we have possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities that we can do and we can follow just to have unified, fully automated environment that we can work with. Okay, why not and when not? That's a good question. If you remember the theory about when not to use the automation, of course, the theory about the broken windows, it's like you should be using that everywhere that is possible, but just be reusable. So if you think that there's no point of using the automation in the specific project, don't use it. It's like you don't need to have 100% coverage of the unit test of your solution. You can be only 20, 30, 50%. So you just need to figure out if there's really something that's supposed to be automated or not. And in my case, I mostly do with the automation. I hate when I need to repeat myself and do the same thing over and over again. Like with this example that I was doing the setting up of my computer that took me 6 hours. That was my second time I was doing that. The first time I was doing that was a few months ago, and it took me 12 hours. So the next time, if someone will ask me, I will sit down, I will write the code to automate that process, because I will not be, and I don't want to waste my time doing that again. Because if I'm doing that already third time, that means that I will be doing that much more many times than I had already. Okay, summary. I hope I show you and I contagious you with the idea of automation and why the automation is needed in our daily-based work, and what we can automate and what will happen if we will not be automating the code. There are much more worse examples, and probably every one of you has been working with in the company that basically has a lot of manual work, and you're already spending some time deploying the application. Have you ever did the web deployment by copying the files to the server? Anyone? Yeah. And you're doing that over and over again. With the new project starting up, there is no like the idea that let's automate that. No, because you already know that you can do this by copying the files, so why bother? I hope that right now you'll be keen to test at least automation in the next project that you will be taking, even for your own pet projects. Just do it, try it, and you will see, and you will, I promise you will gain a lot of benefits from using it. So automate all the things. Thank you. Any questions?
No, there are. Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. If you want to ask me a question, there is a hashtag Infoshare and hashtag TechStage. Or we can do it right now.
Yeah, if there are any questions, you can ask them. I have one.
Yeah.
I'm already familiar very well with configuration management applications like Ansible, Chef, etc., etc. Do you recommend something for Windows? The Ansible has support for Windows, however, it sucks. So maybe you have something better.
I'm using Mac. I've just thrown my Windows phone to the bin. I bought the iPhone, and yeah, that's probably my answer. But you can do it. No, you can. And there's James Nugent, and if you will look at Gen 20, it's his tag on the GitHub, you probably will find a Packer solution that will work with the Windows installation and Windows automation with SSH configured and working for the Windows Server 2000 something. But it's not easy, and everyone is.
Okay, thank you.
Not yet. In the future.
Are there any other questions?
No. Thank you.
No. So thank you, Jakub.